Okay, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today we're going to learn some vocabulary and grammar related to the third model. First of all, let's take a look at the pictures at number 2, vocabulary. I want you to look at the pictures carefully, then try to read the verbs here on the left, on the right. Try to guess their meanings and the differences between the first two verbs. Okay, the first verb, rob, it's about stealing property, while the second verb, shoplift, is about stealing goods from a shop. Now, let's read the verbs together. Let's read the sentences together and try to put the verb in the correct place.
Module 3, Challenge. 3A, Solving Crimes. 2, Vocabulary. A, complete the sentences with the correct form of the verbs. Then listen and check your answers.
1. The police caught the man who robbed the bank last week. 2. The police arrested 2 people last night, but they are not the bank robbers. 3. This morning, a police officer arrested an old man who was shoplifting at the local supermarket.
Okay, so the correct answers will be: the police caught the man who robbed the bank, the police arrested 2 people, and the third one will be shoplifting. Now let's move to the second part of the vocabulary. Now I want you to read the words in the box and try to put them in those 2 columns. One of them is related to an action, something happened. The other one related to the person who did the action or the crime. All of them are words related to crimes. Now we have thief, shoplifter, burglary, burglar, pickpocketing, pickpocket, shoplifting, and theft. Now the first one is done for us, robbery, robber. What about the second one? Burglary. So what do you think the person who did that crime? Okay, he will be a burglar. What about pickpocketing? The person who did it will be pickpocket. Shoplifting will be shoplifter. Theft will be thief. So all of those words are related to crime. What are the differences between them? Robber is somebody who steals money from a bank, a shop, or a vehicle using force, of course. While burglar is somebody who enters building illegally with the intention of stealing things. Pickpocket is somebody who steals money from people's pockets. Shoplifter is, as we mentioned before, is somebody who steals goods from a shop. A thief is somebody who steals something from another one or from people. Now, I want you to choose one word and try to put it in your own sentence at home. Now we're going to move to the following part, which is the grammar part. At this part, we're going to practice using the subject-object questions. At page 35, I want you now to read those two kinds of questions and look carefully to the words in the bold, written in bold. The first one, who saw the robber? The second one, who did you see at the park? Now look at the words, as I said, in bold, and try to figure out the differences between them. Okay, so the first word is done or made without an auxiliary, while the second one, see, is made by the help of an auxiliary. Why? Of course, the first one is, in the first question, we're asking about the subject, the person who did the verb. So who saw the robber? An old man. An old man saw the robber. An old man here is the subject. So if we are making a question asking about a subject, we should use the WH word, who or what or which or any WH word we would like to use, plus the verb. While if we are making a question about, asking about the object of the verb, like in the second question, who did you see at the park? I saw Harry and Bill. So here, I is the subject, Harry and Bill are the object. We're asking here about Harry and Bill, about the object of that verb. So if we are asking about the object, we should use the auxiliary, did, plus the verb. And of course, the verb would be in the infinitive form. So again, to form the subject question, we're going to use the WH word plus the verb. To form the object question, we're going to use the WH word plus auxiliary plus the verb. Now, I want you to think of your own examples at home and try to write your own sentences about your own questions about the subject and object questions. Okay, let's move to the following task related to the subject object questions. The first one, what? The answer is James bought a poster for the shop. So we're asking here about the word in bold. What do you think the question should be? Okay. What did James buy from the shop? So we use the WH word plus auxiliary plus the verb. Why? Because we're asking about a poster, which is the object of the verb. The second one, who? My uncle and aunt sent me this postcard. So we're asking here about my uncle and aunt. Is it a subject or an object? Okay, so the answer will be, who sent you this postcard? So we use the WH word plus a verb. Why? Because we're asking about subject. The third example, which? I took the red pen. We're asking here about the red pen. Is it subject or object? Let's see. Which pen did you take? We use WH plus did, which is the auxiliary, plus the verb. Why? Because we're asking about the object, which is the red pen. Now let's move to 4. Who? The police caught a dangerous criminal last night. So the word in bold, dangerous criminal, is it subject or object? Okay, let's see. Who did the police catch last night? We use WH word plus auxiliary plus the verb. Why? Because we're asking about the object. Now let's check the answers. So 5, 6, 7, and 8. 5 will be, did Danny call an hour ago? We're asking about his brother. Which car is Abdullah's? We're asking about the green car. Which book did you buy? We're asking about the history book, which is the object. Who just called? We're asking about Andy, which is the subject. Check your answers before we move to the following page. Okay. Let's move to the following page, page 37, at the vocabulary part. Now, I want you to look at the verbs in the box. Okay, so we call these verbs phrasal verbs. What is the meaning of phrasal verb? Phrasal verbs or phrasal verb is the combining of two words. As you can see here, we have two words, and so on. So it's the combining of two words from different categories. One of them is a verb, the other one is a preposition. To form one single word must be taken as a whole. So we take it as a whole. It has its own meaning, which is different than the other verb, different than in meaning the other verb, and also different from those all verbs. So we use the same verb but different preposition to come up with different verbs with different meanings. That's what we are calling phrasal verbs. So let's go back to the box, read the verbs again, and we're going to try to put them in the sentences that best match their meanings. We have turn on, turn over, turn up, turn off, turn into, turn down, turn out. So what is the differences between those verbs? Each one of them has the verb turn, but in different meaning. Turn on means to begin something, begin an operation, an activity, or flow of something. To turn over means to bring something or bring the bottom to the top, to change something, radical change. Turn up, to increase the volume or intensity of something. Turn off means to stop the operation, activity, or the flow of something. So turn off and turn on are the opposites. Turn into means to transform, change into something, to transform something to something or change it into another thing. Turn down means to reduce the volume or intensity of something. So turn up and turn down are the opposites. Turn out is to end up something, is the result of something. Now let's try to put them in sentences, in the correct sentence. Let's read the sentences together. The first one, the car went out of control and 3 times before it stopped in the middle of the road. What do you think the correct verb here? Turned over. My dad wants to the garage a gym. So we have 2 spaces here. One of them will put the verb, the other one will put the preposition. So the correct answer will be, my dads want to turn the garage into a gym, because he will change it completely. Could you, the TV, I would like to see the weather forecast for tomorrow. So could you turn the TV on? Number 4, quick, the volume. I want to hear that news story. Turn up the volume because we have the word here, the volume. Don't forget to turn off the printer before you leave. So he has to turn off something. Turn the awful TV program down. It's too loud. Because we have the word here loud, we should use down. Number 7, the day turned out to be warmer than we had expected. Now, I want you to think of phrasal verbs and try to put them in your own sentences at home. Okay. Now, let's move to the following part, the grammar part. At this part, we're going to learn about the reflexive pronouns, how to use them, how to put them in a sentence. First of all, before we start the reflexive pronouns, I'm sure that you all now know the personal pronouns. You have your own knowledge about them from before. For example, if I say Reem and Sarah are playing football, they are playing football. Look at them. So I used they instead of the subject Reem and Sarah, for example. Look at them. Them refers to Reem and Sarah. So we have subject pronouns and object pronouns. The subject pronouns usually comes before the verb, while the object pronouns usually come after the verbs. Now, for example, let's say she cleaned the room. She cleaned her room. Look at her. Now, look at the third column here, the reflexive pronouns. Reflexive pronouns usually show that an action or a verb returns to the person who does it, which is the subject. In other words, if the subject of the verb is the same, is the same as the object, we should use the reflexive pronouns. They look like as, let's say, mirror, that they reflect the subject of the verb. Now, let's read it together. We have I, myself, you, yourself, he, himself, she, herself, it, itself, we, ourselves, you, yourselves, they, and themselves. Now, let's look at the sentences here below. I hurt myself. So the subject is I. The object of the verb is the same as the subject. That's why we used the reflexive pronouns myself. The second one, they made it by themselves. They is the subject. Themselves, we use themselves here because the subject is the same as the object. Look at the word by. By here shows that someone is alone or they did it without any help. They did the action without any help. Now, I want you to go to the dialogue at page 36 at home. Try to read it and try to find reflexive pronouns, more examples of reflexive pronouns. Then try to come up with your own example. Okay? For example, let's say I bought myself an expensive pair of shoes. Or let's say he never talks about himself. So the subject and the object are the same. That's why we use the reflexive pronoun. Now let's move to the exercise. We're going to complete the sentences with the correct reflexive pronoun. I want you to read the sentences. Try to guess the correct reflexive pronoun and put it in the space. The first one, the saucepan was very hot and Susan burned. What do you think the answer will be? Herself, because we have Susan. We finished the project by we. So what is the correct reflexive pronoun? Ourselves. I bought a nice pair of shoes yesterday. I. So the correct one, myself. Number 4, my dad usually fixes the car by, so we have the subject, my dad. What do you think the pronoun will be? And we have the word by, which means with no help. Himself. Number 5, did you do that all by you? So what do you think the reflexive pronoun? Yourselves. Are you talking to again? People will think you are crazy. So, are you? The correct answer will be yourself. Are you talking to yourself again? People will think you're crazy. You have at page 155, 158 extra grammar practice related to the reflexive pronouns. Now we're going to move to the workbook, page 97. Exercise A, you're going to do it as a homework. Let's move to exercise B. We're going to complete the sentences now using the correct form of the words in capitals. We have crime, pickpocket, rob, clean, and theft. They say that a very dangerous has escaped from prison. So what do you think the correct word will be? Dangerous what? Dangerous who? So the correct answer, criminal. Number 2, is the serious problem nowadays. What is the serious problem nowadays? Pickpocketing. Lots of banks have taken place in our town lately. Robberies. We need a new for the office because they're filthy. Okay, so The correct answer will be cleaner. The last one, the two were caught by the police in the end. The two thieves. Be careful for the end of thief. We change it into thieves. Now let's move to the exercise at page 98, exercise D. At this exercise, we're going to use the prompts given to write subject-object questions. Let's take a look at the first one. We have which, Hoover, you buy. So we're going to form a question, either subject or an object question, using those prompts. So we put the WH word at the beginning. Hoover is in the second place. Then we use an auxiliary plus the verb. Which Hoover did you buy? Because we're asking about an object here. The rest will be homework. You can do it at home. Page 99, exercise B, is also homework. Thank you very much.